All right, man. Peace. You know, brothers, this character, Draymond Green, he's a funny dude. He's a funny brother, man. You know, sometimes in life, if you're fortunate or if we're fortunate, we become a part of a partnership or a member of a group that we can tell is going to be or is very fruitful. And if we don't have the proper scruples or the proper discretion, we might do something that might be the tipping point in that partnership or that enterprise, possibly going down the tubes or going down the drain. And we say to ourselves, damn, I don't want to be the reason why this shit is not going to work. Because if I get the blame for this, something that was so clearly on the up and up and was basically a no-lose operation, I'm never going to be able to forgive myself. And that was Draymond Green after that whole blow up between himself and Kevin Durant. I told you, brothers, that eventually the two Mama's boys would detonate. One of the two, and I'm still waiting on the third Mama's boy, DeMarcus Cousins, to show himself. He's going to explode before the season's out, most likely. Who knows? Maybe not, because he's in a good environment. He's in a better environment now, but he's still a ticking time bomb to watch. But just getting back to Draymond. Draymond understood that once that blow up happened between him and Kevin Durant, the Golden State Warriors, they fell off. They became a marginal team. Mentally, spiritually, as a team, they were struggling. And if they were not able to correct the ship and get everything back on course, he was going to get the blame for that. Draymond understood that he was going to get the blame for that. And he would have probably been the first player in the history of professional sports to stop a dynastic team from winning not one, but two championships. When we look at the history of most of the major faux pas in the history of professional sports, you think of Bill Buckner or you think of Scott Norwood, and you say to yourself, well, that was just one championship. Draymond Green would have been the reason why Golden State did not win two championships had Golden State not been able to correct the ship and get everything steered back on course. And this is why he's saying what he's saying here. He said, we fought through some things, which happens. No, they fought through your bullshit. He said, we fought through some things, which happens. We're trying to win a third straight championship. It's not easy. Yeah, it's not easy. And it becomes even more difficult when cats cannot control their emotions and they have too many feminine tendencies about them. He says, so shit happens and shit did happen. No, your bullshit happened. And we got through it. Sucks for everybody else. I know everybody else was hoping we didn't. Draymond is speaking like a member of a team that has already won the championship. You know why he's doing that? Because he wants everybody out there to know that if we don't win, don't blame me, because we're back on course. So something might happen where we don't win the championship, but it's not my fault. Don't blame me, because I'm telling you, had that ship gone down, they would have got rid of this dude and he would have lost millions of dollars and he would have had no one to blame but himself. So once again, he's trying to let the NBA fan base know that even if we lose, do not blame me, because the ship is already back on course and I'm going to play my position now. I'm not going to fuck around. So anyway, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
Thank you, David. Draymond Green's confident the Warriors will three-peat and the window to prevent it may have closed, telling a group of reporters this: we fought through some things, which happened. We're trying to win a third straight championship. It's not easy. So bleep happens, and bleep did happen, and we got through it. Sucks for everybody else. I know everybody else was hoping we didn't. Like I told y'all months ago, everybody on this team isn't going to stop this run. Someone else got to be lucky enough to do it, and luck might have run out. So long as our chemistry is great, no one can beat us for real.
I tell you, man, Draymond is that girlfriend or that wife that you love, but after a while you say to yourself, I can't fuck with this broad because I never know when she's going to blow up over some dumb shit. That's Draymond. You have love for Draymond, but he's just way too cantankerous. He's very fortunate that he's found a team that he can fit into relatively seamlessly, but he better watch himself.
Yeah, true. Max, what could prove Draymond wrong here?
Well, as you said, true. They're just too loaded. But let's look at the personality of the team. The first time they won a championship, LeBron's second best player was Matthew Dellavedova.
Once again, and I say this about the LeBron James superfans all the time, LeBron James is the only great player in the history of the NBA who every time he loses a championship, we're told that it's because he lost a teammate went down, so we should not count that loss as an actual defeat on his record, on his resume. Notice, nobody says Isaiah Thomas is 2-1 in NBA Finals, but he really should be 2-0 because in 1988 he went down with an ankle injury. Nobody says Larry Bird is 3-2 in the NBA Finals, but we won't count that loss to the Lakers in 87 because in 87 Kevin McHale played with a broken foot. Nobody says Magic Johnson is 5-4 in the NBA Finals, but we're only going to count him as 5-2 because in 1989 he hurt his hamstring and he missed most of the series, and in 1991 James Worthy and Byron Scott went down with injuries. Nobody says that. But when it comes to LeBron James, we have to hear about how this teammate went down and that teammate went down.
And they took the Warriors 6 games. I'm here to tell you, had LeBron, had Kyrie, and Kevin Love, they would have definitely beaten that one. 6.
Hey, Max Kellerman, I have news for you. If your aunt had a penis and a scrotum, she'd be your uncle. All this if and what if and all that bullshit, I don't want to hear about that.
6 games with Matthew Dellavedova, your second best player. If you're crewed up, you beat that Warriors team. The next year, the Warriors won 73 games. Is this the greatest team of all time? Are they replacing the 94-95 Bulls? They won more.
You mean the 95-96 Bulls? And when I look at those first 2 series between the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Golden State Warriors, I consider them a wash. Because you can make the case that Cleveland would have won the series in 2015 had they had Kyrie and Kevin Love. But then you can make the case that the Golden State Warriors should have won in 2016 had Draymond not been suspended. So it would have been 1-1 either way.
One more games in the regular season. And LeBron James this time was crewed up and went into Oracle and beat them, snatched their heart in the fourth quarter in Game 7 on their home turf. Let's be honest. By the way, you know who showed up in that game, Stephen A?
Kyrie Irving.
Draymond Green. Had they won, Green was going to be MVP. But their best...
Yeah, but you know, the thing with Draymond, he would have been the MVP. But the thing with Draymond is he's like that asset that has its pros and its cons. You know, so you just have to deal with Draymond.
Best players didn't show up late in that game. That's the kind of team it is. Then they add Kevin Durant. The kind of personality that team has had to me has been when they are so deep, when their squad is impossible, then everyone gets brave. Then everyone gets rolling. But when they don't feel that, well, not as much. And
you know, I understand where he's coming from, and I mentioned this in another video. Max Kellerman basically thinks that the Warriors are front runners, and you can kind of get that vibe from them. But at the same time, it's very difficult to call a team front runners when they were able to come back from down 3-1 in the 2016 Western Conference Finals. They came back from down 3-1 against an Oklahoma City Thunder team that was very talented, had Kevin Durant, and had Russell Westbrook. So you can't quite call them bullies or front runners when they do something like that.
Even then, last year they should have lost to the Rockets.
And on top of that, like you just mentioned, they were down 3-2 to the Rockets and came back and won that series as well.
Rockets, who took them to a Game 7 at Houston, and even without CP3 there, and even having the worst shooting night from 3 in the history of basketball, still only lost by single digits. There's something about the character or personality of the team that when things get tight, so do they. So there's one thing that could potentially upset the apple.
You can try to hang your hat on that, but once again in Game 7 last year against the Houston Rockets, it was the Rockets that got tight, not the Warriors.
Apple cart. If some team with that kind of killer instinct hangs around, maybe, just maybe, we could get an upset.
Not quite, not in a 7-game series. You would need a team with a transcendent player that has perfect chemistry to beat the Warriors. And unless you have mitigating circumstances like you had in 2016 with Draymond and Harrison Barnes not able to make a shot and Andrew Bogut going down and Andre Iguodala basically going down and Steph Curry half injured and with low confidence, then maybe. But this team, no. Not even with 2 LeBrons could they beat Golden State.
So much to talk to you about, teach you about basketball. But I'm not going to spend time. I just don't have the time. I really, really don't have the time. I really don't. I mean, here's the deal, Max. Here's the deal, Max. Of course, somebody, if the moments get pressurized and you bring the heat, like, for example, what if Russell Westbrook and Paul George get hot? What if Russell Westbrook starts hitting threes? I mean, it's just
over the course of 7 games, Stephen A. Smith. What if Russell Westbrook starts hitting threes? Okay, Stephen A. Smith, what if Emmanuel Lewis grows 1.5 feet in one night? I mean, come on, give me a break. It's about the same chances of both those things happening.
I mean, hypothetically speaking, what if Russell Westbrook just...
So you're agreeing about the Warriors' character or personality?
Well, what I'm saying to you is that, listen, if Russell Westbrook, if Paul George played the way that he plays, and Russell Westbrook is consistent...
I'll say this, though. That Oklahoma City Thunder pickup of Markieff Morris, that's going to be a major factor. The Thunder going to be a problem.
With his perimeter shot, okay? Who the hell knows what could happen? But I think the biggest thing about it is this. One of the things that I don't think you give the Golden State Warriors enough credit for, even though obviously you recognize their greatness like everybody else. You take nights off. You take moments in a game off. You know how many times we watched the Golden State Warriors and games have come down to the wire this year? Had no business coming down to the wire.
Agreed, especially against Portland.
Wire. And suddenly they just go like this. You know what? We gonna stop playing. Let's amp this up.
Or sometimes they come down to the wire and they lose.
Okay, because the level of urgency calls for it. When you are a champion, particularly you've been to 4 straight NBA Finals. You know how many meaningless games? You know how many? Or rather, do you know how meaningless regular season games are to you? This is a challenge. This is a problem. And so what happens is sometimes it can potentially disrupt your rhythm. What I'm saying to you is that when you look at a Russell Westbrook and you look at a Paul George, based on what we're seeing, if you've got 2 superstars playing like superstars, things can get very, very interesting. Because then that means everything has to go right.
You know, Steve, I would believe that if the Warriors still had the same team that they had back in 2016. That's why the OKC Thunder were so potent against them, because they actually had 2 superstars, or at least borderline superstars at that point, in Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. Right now, Russell Westbrook and Paul George, they're not going to be enough to be able to overcome a focused, laser-sharp Golden State Warriors team with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Kevin Durant, and Boogie Cousins. It's just not going to happen. You can try to make as much of a case as you want, unless Golden State loses, say, Steph Curry. God forbid he goes down with a serious injury. If they were to lose him, then I might even make OKC the favorite to come out of the West, especially with the addition of Markieff Morris. But with all that firepower that they have, and then in addition to that, they play with so much chemistry and synergy, I just don't see it.
For the champions, for the Giants that everybody's gunning for.
Why
particularly when you're in the car and you're playing with house money.
Why when they have 2 MVP superstar players, plus Klay Thompson, who's like beyond just a normal all-star, plus Draymond Green, plus Boogie Cousins, why is it that only 2 superstars could put them in trouble on another team?
Because I think that bottom line is when you have 2 superstars, you don't have to worry about about engaging in diplomacy. If everybody knows their role backs.
See, in debates like this is when they need a third person to provide some pushback, because there is no precedent for 2 superstars being able to hurt the Golden State Warriors. There is just none, at least not since Kevin Durant got there. Certain people might say, well, what about last year with James Harden and CP3? It wasn't so much the offensive attack of those 2 superstars that hurt the Warriors. It was the physicality that was allowed by the referees on defense. That's what hurt them, and that's what impeded them. Because when they went against 2 superstars in Cleveland with Kyrie Irving and LeBron, the Cavaliers played no defense, so they got blitzkrieged.
And you're the guy. It's the 2 of us. Move the hell out the way. That's a hell of a lot easier to manage than when you got 5 guys. And I'm not saying this is the case with the Golden State Warriors. Please don't get me wrong.
You're saying the Warriors have not too many cooks in the kitchen, but It's almost simpler. Okay, I understand that point. Let me get back to your other point.
You see Steph Curry, he's unselfish, so that's not applicable to him. But I'm saying you never know how 2 guys can overcome everybody else.
Let me get to your other point. Let me get to your other point about sometimes you take moments off. You and I were both there. Game 7, Oracle. The title for greatest team ever on the line.
Game
like the
7,
fate of the universe
on
the line.
Houston Toyota Center. It was in Houston Toyota Center.
No, I'm talking about Game 7 against the Cavs.
Oh, 3 years.
Max Kellerman loves going back to this damn game. It's like every conversation, every debate that they have, he goes back to Game 7 in 2016. I mean, damn. Max must have busted a big old nut watching that game in his seat in Oracle in Game 7, watching LeBron win. I mean, damn.
73.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
You and I were there. We saw each other there.
Yep.
73 win team. If they beat the Cavs at home, some people are going to say it's the greatest team that ever was. Fate of the universe on the line. 4 minutes and 22 seconds in the fourth quarter to close the game. They scored 0 points.
That's because they did not have a truly physical half-court offensive player. And Steph Curry, with the way that the referees were allowing Cleveland to defend him, he was nowhere near as effective, especially with that bad knee.
That's not taking some moments off in the regular season. If there are 60 moments in a minute, that's 240. That's 262 of the most high leverage moments they took off in Game 7 at home.
I wasn't alluding to 3 years ago. I'm talking about the team. That team didn't have Kevin Durant on it. Kevin Durant's been in the last 2 years.
Right. But this is my point. It's not like KD is the player you believe one-on-one is going to do it, or Steph is, or Clay is. It's that once you add what I'm saying is once you add KD to the other guys, it's just an avalanche. It's not about the personality of the team if things get tight. It's just that things don't get tight because they're too good. What I'm saying is if a team can make it tight, let's see how the Warriors respond, because this run, they have not responded very well.
Not true. Game 6 in OKC, down 3-2. Klay Thompson blitzkriegs OKC. That game was tight down the stretch. I guess people might say, well, that's right. What you're saying is true. Golden State was able to come back and win a tight game on the road, but they were also going up against a team that had a point guard with a terrible basketball IQ. So I will give you that, but the point being is Max Kellerman is wrong when he tries to assert that Golden State has never faced any adversity. They were down 2-1 to the Memphis Grizzlies in 2015. They were down 2-1 to the Cleveland Cavaliers with LeBron James, albeit without his other 2 co-stars. In 2016, they were down 3-1 to the OKC Thunder and came back. So, I mean, we have to give them that much credit. Last year, they were down 3-2 to the Houston Rockets.
Oh, I agree with that, which is why I'm telling you, if 2 stars play like superstars, anything can happen. I don't believe that it will, but I think that that's all that's required in the sport of basketball. If you got 2 guys that are superstars playing together, and they're playing like superstars,
right,
they can push anyone to the brink. And I think Oklahoma City has that potential.
Yeah, well, they can play some defense too. If
What
Russell
I'm saying,
Westbrook somehow
offensively,
starts
you got the
knocking
2
down,
stars, and defensively, collectively, they can deliver because they defend. They're long and athletic,
Yes,
and they
they are.
defend.
if Russell Westbrook can start knocking down threes somehow when it matters, they could beat Golden State.
Let me say this. Steven Adams is going to have to win his matchup against DeMarcus Cousins. It's going to sound strange. People might say, well, how could you expect that? Well, with a severely hampered DeMarcus Cousins, if Steven Adams, say, if OKC were to play the Golden State Warriors, if Steven Adams could average 15 points, 10 rebounds, and he could hold DeMarcus Cousins to that same number, that's him winning the matchup. Because you would expect just by name recognition for DeMarcus Cousins to outplay him stat-wise. Paul George is going to have to nullify Kevin Durant. Russell Westbrook is going to have to nullify Steph Curry. Markieff Morris, or the combination of Markieff Morris and the other guards, are going to have to try to nullify Klay Thompson. And then they're going to have to hope for the best in crucial moments. That's OKC's only hope of winning that series.
All right. You guys.
But anyway, that's basically it on that. We'll see what happens. I just found what Draymond Green stated very interesting, very comical, because in my view, it was just an admission on his part that he almost fucked up the season. And now that things have gotten back on course, don't blame him if they don't win. That's truly what that little blurb was about. But anyway, peace.